the last episode with my 1988 Saab 900 turbo project, we worked on some of the cosmetic problems that the car had. In that video, go check it out if you haven't seen it yet, but we did a lot of things up front here. For example, we put this turbo badge back on, and we did new headlights, a new corner light, and a few other little things on the front end here. But since I got this car, since we've gotten it running, and when we did first get it running, we realized that the car has some blow-by. Blow-by meaning that when the car is running, there is smoke that comes out of this oil cap. So that can mean a wide variety of different things. One good sign about the car is that all the fluids, this here is the coolant, look good. They don't appear mixed or anything like that. The oil is brown. I mean, it's dirty, but it's not mixed or milky or anything. So I don't really think it's a head gasket, hopefully not. But that's how we're going to run a compression test on the car to kind of get a better sense of how healthy this engine actually is. So I have this compression test kit here. This is from my buddy Lucas at Saving Saabs on Instagram. He let me borrow this, so big thank you to him. But we're going to be using this today to hopefully learn some good things about the car. To start, there's some T30s right here. So one unfortunate thing about these plugs is that they all have to be put in the right cylinder because of the distributor here. They all have to be put in the same cylinder. They can't be interchanged like a spark plug could, or excuse me, like a coil pack could on a newer car. So that's one thing that I've got to make sure I put these all back how they came. The good news is though, they're all different lengths. So there's really only one way that they can go. You can see this is going to be a little bit hard to possibly even mess up. Because these are all so long and awkward, I think I'm just going to zip tie them all kind of in a ball. That might be the easiest way to do this. Now they're all just resting on a radiator hose or some sort of rubber hose over there, and shouldn't have to worry about that. Now that that's done, we can remove our spark plugs. This is just a 5/8 spark plug socket. These are magnetic, so they're meant specifically for spark plugs, which is nice. I'm not going to use my impact on these just to be safe. These plugs actually look really good. Like they were replaced relatively recently. Interesting, I see these are NGK BCP 70S, which are the same exact plugs that I run in my 0393, so that's kind of cool. These seem to be pretty loose in here. They're not taking much force to break, which means that whoever installed these, one, I think probably did them pretty recently based off of how new these plugs look, and two, clearly didn't torque them down way tighter than they need to be. You can see the tips of the spark plugs. They look pretty good, so. Another thing we want to do here is remove the fuel pump fuse, just to be safe. That is the fuse number 30 here. I see right there, it's a 20 amp. Fuse 30 is this 20 amp right here. Stick that in there, pull it out. Keep that up there for now. I just watched a very informative how-to on compression tests. It kind of gave me a 101 outside of what the instructions for the actual kit say, but we are ready to reinstall it. So this kit comes with a wide variety of different adapters and spark plug sizes, things like that. So the one that I need is right here. I've got that connected to the gauge right here. So we're gonna thread this into the spark plug hole now about hand tight. And we'll do that for each cylinder, and I'll explain what's next once we do that. We'll start with cylinder 1 here. So what we're looking for in all of these is relatively similar PSI. We want them all to be within about 10% of each other. We don't want cylinder 1 to be 80 PSI and the rest of them to be like 140. That would be bad. So this is supposed to be hand tight. That's hand tight. You need to crank the car about 8 times so that way it can build full compression, I guess you could say, and then it should hold this value here for me so I can come back out and check it. You guys will see it though in real time. So a couple things here that I messed up. One, the battery needs to be connected, because you just saw there it won't crank at all because the starter has no power. So you need a special tool to kind of like force the starter to jump manually if you're going to disconnect the battery. So I need to reconnect the battery, but also what I realized is the car's supposed to be up to operating temperature when I do this test, and well, it's been sitting for about 2 days, so we're gonna go take it for a quick drive and get it up to operating temp, and then we'll be back to actually do this. If you can't tell, like I said, I have never done a compression test before, but it's a learning experience for sure, and that's okay. But yeah, let's go take it for a rip. A couple points worth mentioning as we go to start the drive here. One, my headlights are so much better now since I did all that work. This is the first time driven at night, and I don't really drive it at night. One, because technically I still haven't registered it, and two, because, well, none of these gauges work here. The gauge is in, I should say, sorry, the backlighting. I've tried the little knob to adjust that, and it doesn't work, but it also says my seatbelt's not on when I do have both parts of the seatbelt on, so I don't know what's up with that, but time for a short rip.
A few moments later.
Just about up to temp now, so I'm gonna head back home. It's not fast by any means, but these gears are so long it makes it feel slower than it actually is. But I mean, it still makes good sounds at least. Back to the drive, and I guess since I got the car running, I can show you guys the floor by. Yeah, that's less than ideal. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead, shut the car off and do everything I did 10 minutes ago. We can actually do this test.
12 seconds later.
Alright, cylinder 1, here we go. What did we get? Alright, looks like we've got 130 PSI, maybe just a hair below that. Let's do the same thing to cylinder 2. I also fear, because the previous owner said that this car needed a new starter, this is putting a lot of wear on the starter, even though I haven't replaced it yet and it seems to be fine. So fingers crossed I don't ruin my starter by doing this. Cylinder 2 is definitely a bit lower, maybe just a hair under 120 PSI. This one, yeah, this one, oh geez, this one's a lot higher. This one is at 135, just a hair north of 135. Take 2 on cylinder 4. I noticed this little rubber cap here popped off as soon as I started cranking it, so maybe that's why it wouldn't read any compression. I'm hoping that's why. So I put a little piece of tape on this rubber cap. It was way on the other side of the garage. So fingers crossed. Oh, thank God that worked. Okay, I was scared. I'm like, do I have no compression on cylinder 4? Okay, thank God. So cylinder 4 is at 140, so even higher than all the other cylinders. So I'm gonna write this down real quick and I'll go over the results again. Here's my results of the compression test. It's just scribbled with Sharpie on a paper towel because that's all I had. Cylinder 1, 130 PSI, cylinder 2, 118 PSI, cylinder 3, 135 PSI, cylinder 4, 140 PSI. It's pretty late tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night, do some research, talk to some people that know a lot about these cars, and get back to you guys in a second here. But I feel like cylinder 2 is probably my issue. Take 2 on cylinder number 2. Well, I just did cylinder 2 again, and I got 125 PSI. So it's not great, but it's certainly better, so that's good. After doing some more research and talking to some people, I have both good news and bad news. Good news is they're all close enough to each other that one cylinder in particular isn't really a concern. Bad news is, however, a healthy B202, a truly healthy B202, should be around 160, 165 PSI for the compression, while this is all well below that, 125 to 140 across the board. So I have been recommended to do a couple of things. One is a leak down test. I'd have to order a kit for that, so I need to do some more research into that to figure out if it's something I want to do. Or I could just go ahead and replace what some people think is the cause, which is piston rings. So I'd have to look into ordering those. But that's all for a future video. One thing I do want to show you guys though is over here in the corner of the garage. Under this tarp, I have some very exciting and interesting parts. Some of you might know exactly what that is. If you don't know exactly what that is, perhaps this sitting on my workbench over here might give you some more of an idea. But that is all for next video. That's just a cliffhanger to end this one on. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.